Welcome to Conversations with Cheryl Weston. Um, Tonight's program, I already know that I'll probably be getting a lot of flack because we're going to be discussing the Omaha City Council agenda for uh, April the 26th, Tuesday, 2 p.m., same spot, same time. Um, And so the comments that I'll be making tonight will be ruffling the feathers of some, and some they'll accept and some won't. So, it's okay because that's what it's supposed to be about is conversations. We all have our own opinions. We just want to talk about the facts. So, with that said, let's get this show on the road. Okay. And here we go. City of Omaha City Council Agenda Tuesday, August the 26th, 2025. We go through the usual. We all know the Pledge of Allegiance, da 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 da. So, moving right along, this will be the public hearing on the budget and capital improvement, which they say CIP for short, was held on August the 12th. So, that was the public hearing. The mayor's recommended budget for 2026 as presented on July 22nd. Item number 26. Each one of the city council members, there was like a $50,000 discretionary funds that they use every year, pretty much. And what it does is it gives them the options where they can send this money to. Item number 6 will be from Councilman Rowe. And his appropriations from the general fund is increasing, or should say, increasing the general fund appropriations by $50,000 to other budgetary accounts, which is miscellaneous community service programs. His is going to the Heartland Hope Mission. Heartland Hope Mission is not currently funded in the 2026 budget, but does have a community service program. And that is the number that's given. So that's what's going to happen with item number 6. So let's move right along. Item number 7. This will be another from one of the council members. This will be the public hearing. So on these items, you still have an opportunity to go and give a voice. But I could say pretty much all these will pass. I can't see them changing their mind. But there's always a possibility, but I don't think so. So this is Amy Melton's, council member Amy Melton's. Her 50,000 too is going to go Omaha Parks Foundation. That's the Omaha Parks Foundation. And here we'll go. And this is just a breakdown of each one of these. They'll all pretty much be the same. They go to whichever organization, the organization's number here, the account, so for increase, decrease. So it's a white. Okay. Number 8, we'll see which council member this is. Council President Bagley has requested his 2026 recommended to go 35,000. It's being divided up to community service programs to Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education. The other $15,000, he has asked that it go to the furniture project. Now, I'm very familiar with that furniture project, and I think it's a great project, an organization. I've donated to myself in financial donations as well as furniture. And they also have a good working relationship with Nebraska Furniture Mart and other stores like that. And a lot of times, youth who have transitioned out of the foster care system, this gives them an opportunity where they can go in and get the necessary equipment that can make their apartment living uh, or their room or whatever. So it's a good program, and there's a lot of volunteer that goes with this. So let's move on. We'll go back. Now, let's see who number 9 is. See the attached. And this is Pete Festerson's, Council Member Pete Festerson's requesting $45,000 to the Parks, Recreation, and Public Property Department. 5,000 of that 50 will go to the Omaha Police Department Uniform Patrol budget. I'm not going to break down each one of those and go through that part because we're trying to just keep this open. There was a communication in support. I'll just bring it up real quickly of who that's from. And this is from the Nebraska State Senator, District 13, Ashley Spivey, and this is in her district, as well as Pete Festerson's. I'm writing in support of the proposed budget amendment that would allocate an additional $45,000 for improvements to Florence Park for a total of $65,000, as well as $5,000 to fund a pole-mounted digital speed monitor at 30th and Tucker Street. Florence Park is a crucial community asset, and prioritizes investments would ensure the park is safe, welcoming, and a vibrant space for residents of all ages. Additionally, I support the installation of the permanent speed monitor at 30th and Tucker. Speeding continues to be a concern in our neighborhood, and a visible, constant deterrent like digital speed monitor can be an effective tool for improving safety and saving lives. This proposed monitor, in combination with the existing grant-funded mobile unit, would enhance traffic calming efforts along the 30th Street corridor. Thank you for your consideration, and I encourage your support of this amendment in the upcoming budget vote on August 26th. So, and here's where you say, well, that's more than the 50. If you remember, this is improvements for a total. There's already a certain amount allocated in the budget. All right. Now we'll move along and we go to 10. See attached. Councilman Hug, 4th District, is increasing and asking for $20,000 to go to the community service program Victory Boxing. And that is a great organization. It was founded by a person who went through drugs, gangs, prison, the whole works, turned it around, and has been consistently helping through the Victory Boxing program others to turn their life around. $15,000 to the Uniform Patrol Division of the Southeast Precinct. $5,000 should go to the Omaha Parks Foundation. $4,000 should go to the South Omaha Museum, and $3,000 will go to SONA, South Omaha Neighborhood Association. So I can imagine, I can think of one person that'll probably be there. See you tomorrow, Kimra. Increasing $3,000 to the Parks Department, Parks and Facilities Division. And so that will bring it to the total of his $50,000. And let's get down here to 11, and we'll see who that's for. Submitted for your consideration is Council Member Lavanya Goodwin, requesting that the 2026 recommended budget be amended as follows. $45,000 to Parks, Recreation, and Public Property Department facilities. And I want to make note, and I'll read it down a little later. $5,000 to the North Omaha Music and Arts, brings it to $50,000. This proposal would fund an appropriation to the Parks Department to fund a pilot program establishing a city-funded and managed contract with one or more vendors to provide on-call maintenance services to the city's 9 business improvement districts, BIDs. This concept would be an assist the BIDs with emergency cleanups or maintenance event, after events, cleanups, or other maintenance experiences for which the BID lacks adequate maintenance fund. Don't get that BID. And we all know the North Omaha Music and Arts events or programs, which is located right on the corner of 24th and Lake Street and is doing great job. So we're going through, and I believe we should have that should be the end of the city council members' discretionary budget request. Number 12 is the recommendation by increasing the revenues in the Keno Fund of $150,000. You can see the breakdown. This is to increase the results of the Kearney-Keno contract, which the breakdown is $37,500 community service programs to the Food Bank of Heartland, $37,500 to Saving Grace Perishable Food Rescue, $37,500 to Together Inc., and $37,500 to Heart Ministry Center program. So that is what is asked for that. Now we get on to item number 13. I'm just going to go through it, keep my comments. Councilman Breaker Harding requested that $35,000 go to the Omaha Parks Foundation, and then $15,000 would go to the Omaha Municipal Land Bank. To the Municipal Omaha Land Bank. Okay. What do you think about that? Anyway, I don't have a problem. Do you? All right. Now moving along. Item number 14. Submitted for your consideration is a resolution prepared by the City Finance Department at the request of Councilmember LaVanya Goodwin, requesting that the Capital Improvement Program be revised for the North 24th Street Streetscape Improvements. This revision includes modifications to the cost schedule to reflect the additional appropriations associated with Phase 2 of the project. The additional appropriation funding source is a 2022 HUD Community Project Funding Grant of $3 million, awarded with a $600,000 local match. The final CIP capital improvement project should include this schedule. So what this means is that back in 2022, there was a earmark by Congressman Bacon for this North Omaha 24th Street Streetscape Improvement for the BID. So this money has been there since $10 million of this money has been there since 2022. But because it's so complex, as Councilman Goodwin often says, That money has been sitting there, and 24th Street is looking like it's looking because the streetscape ideal, and how many of you know how much that is? How many know? But $10 million is earmarked by Representative Bacon, and it was through HUD. They call it through HUD because you have to have an entity that can handle this much money. So that's the reason why the city became well, you could say the administrator. But my point I'm getting back to, 24th Street looks like 24th Street, and some of that could have possibly been changed since 2022. Then there was another 3 million with the 600,000 that was put in, earmarked by Congressman Bacon. And that money has been sitting there for the purpose of the streetscape for North 24th Street BID. Folks, this is the goal of the North 24th Street Streetscape Improvement Project is to enhance the infrastructure of the area by addressing several key aspects: sidewalks, traffic flow, landscaping, parking, multi-modal transit, and lighting. There's been several of the lighting, which has been other BIDs have already made adjustments and gotten their lighting, but North 24th Street BID is still waiting for their lighting. Why? Well, hopefully with new people being assigned to the BID, North 24th Street BID, maybe we'll get some more action. There will be traffic control measures implemented to reduce speeds and corner nod bump outs installed at intersections, which will enhance the overall safety and comfort of the streets for all users. This project will be executed in 2 phases. The first phase will cover the segment from Sailor Street to Ohio Street. The second will be from Ohio Street to Patrick Street. Since 2022, okay? 2 phases. It's been decided. You know, all this talk that they keep saying through the BID, talking about all this speed on North 24th Street. First, you got to have traffic on North 24th Street. And then you might have some speed and worried about that. But hopefully now, as I said, there may be some changes made to the BID that will show action and get things moving. And with this money that has been sitting there since 2022 will be resolved. So that's item 14. Now, let's move on down the road. Item 15, it will be. Now, this is public hearing and vote today. At the request of Vice President Harding and Councilmember Melton, attached is a resolution for consideration that would strike any reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion from the 2026 budget. This does not alter appropriations or revenue in the recommended budget. However, future federal or state funding criteria will include reviews of DEI programming of those potential recipients, which could put the city at risk for disqualification or reduce priority for such funding. This is ridiculous because the little amount of money that would be affected, but 2 council members, diversity, equity, inclusion, Melton and Harding, feel the need for this to be in. So folks, I want you to watch and you want to see. We all were saying, oh, we've got this new mayor. We have a new mayor. We have a new representative in District 2. Are we going to see all those changes or what? Or are you going to see at that hearing that it will pass. So asked, is there any change? As I say, the game is still the same. Name of some of the players have changed. It will be interesting to see who will vote for this. Will it be District 2? Will it be District 3? Will it be District 4 and District 1 who will vote along with? Because we already know Harding and Melton's going to vote for it. And usually where those two go, Councilman Rowe usually goes to. So that would be a 4-3 vote. Will it pass? Now, if that means 4-3, if those other 4 would vote against it, it would only be 3. If all 7 or 5, we're going to see if there's any change. Because really, that whatever it is that's going to come from the government, federal, is not that much when you think of the harm by removing diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, number 16. The general fund, and this is going through all of that, and this is just where you go through each one that was set up. And so I'm really not going to go down through that. If you wanted to see, there is the breakdown, but I'm not going through this. I'm no, not doing it. So we're moving along, and now we have capital improvement. And I want you to notice, I'm sorry, I did make notice right here. These items, these are no more public hearings. That public hearing's already been, it's a vote today, vote today, vote today. Those capital improvements. Now, here, I know that I am going to hear the flack, and that's all right, because everybody has their right to make their comments. If they feel that way, that's theirs. I make mine based on what I think and feel in the facts. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is we will see where our new mayor is about here. Now, a lot of this that was changed in the item above, not talking about the discretionary, but more when you get into the other parts of the budget. Our mayor said that, he didn't have time to make a lot of change. Well, you did. You had just as much time as the public had. Your constituents have, those who voted for you have, is to make changes and recommendation. Because, folks, this budget is nothing more than Stothard's budget. That's all. So you may have gotten, as you like to say, rid of her, but you didn't in a sense where it hits you in your pocketbook, because this budget is Mayor Stothard's budget, according to the new mayor, who didn't make any of those changes that he could have made. Liquor, those next items, 19 to 23, public hearing and a vote. I don't know of any of those where there's any opposition, so I don't think there'll be any changes. Consent agenda. These are the public hearings items for the consent agenda, which were 24 through 27. Those were held on August the 19th. Now, the only way that there will be any voice on these is if this member of the city council chooses to call one of these items out for whatever. When you look at them, I don't see anything that anyone's going to call. This is overhead door, maintenance, There might be some questions, but I can't see anyone pulling from it. And that has to do with the police, because people argue about how much is the police budget. It's a done deal. So, I don't see anything happening there. The public hearings for the next consent agenda items, which is 28 through 38, all those will be wrapped into one unless one is pulled out. And I don't see where any of those will be pulled out, but I could be wrong. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. These mainly are commission, where they were recommended by Mayor John Ewing to have various people put on boards, on commissions rather, and to serve on the board. Here again, when you look at all of this, those same names, people being put out there, where did it change? It's the same game, only it's just names of the players have changed. Ordinance on final reading. You can see this is the ordinance, landscaping regulations and urban design. There will be a vote on that. The planning board, as well as the members, have all council members and stuff have discussed this. The vote will be today. It's already had the public hearing, so there won't be much. Item number 40. This is on the final reading. This was the item that was postponed regarding the changes from the health departments on the food and inspection. And we're going to do a separate on this particular item. It was asked to be postponed on the 14th, then it was amended by the whole and so forth. But we're going to have one whole session where I broke down, because I talked to the gentleman that is in the food inspection and protection that handles that, who's in the health department, who was very nice, explained each item. And I wanted to break it down, and he did commit to coming on to discuss it. So when we do have that, we're going to attempt to have a more open discussion with a live, and that some of the questions, if you get those to me, we'll be able to ask. But he gives a very thorough breakdown. So, I don't see where it's not going to pass. And I think I don't see a problem with it, yes, myself. It does have explanation about food trucks, and that's which you may need to pay attention. Ordinance on the second reading. These are the ones that will have public hearing, and these on the second. Item number 4 is a purchase order for Executive Janitorial Corporation. Item number 42 is for payment of home based upon the home rule charter and all that for land stabilization sewage sludge. Public hearing on necessary property. There again, public hearing. Public hearing number 44 between the city of Omaha and Quick Current, Nebraska for a period of 10 years, authorizing the mayor to sign to the city clerk a test. Nothing there really. Streetscape maintenance agreement between the city of Omaha and the Botanical Center, right there. And there, it's the public hearing. It's not going to change. It's about the old market garden sites that's going through. But if you do, you can have come down. The public hearing is going to be nothing there. The business park, 108. Okay. That's been approved, worked on, and we remember when that came up before. 47, public hearing will provide healthcare advisory services working with the city's workers' compensation program and that. Public hearing. Classifications change, not much there. 50, public hearing. More of that's more in the employment. The personnel board gets involved. Omaha Public Libraries. This is the one where, well, here we go again. But, oh, that's right. We don't want to have DEI. We don't want to have diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's right. We don't want that, right? This is the hearing, and there was a letter of opposition. And this was where BJ Wash Company, Fleet Wash Company, gave a bid, and there was a very minor error made. And which, if you look at it, it was nothing more. It was a correctable clerical error. The gentleman went through the process, tried to change, but they didn't want him to have this bid. That's all. Just tell the truth. His bid is costing the city of Omaha to spend $210,000 more than if they would have accepted his simple clerical correction, which they could have done. They could have done that, but they chose not to. And it will be interesting to see who all votes if it remains 7-0. The city council meetings and others, there was this constant talk, as he said, of all economic inclusion, poverty prevention in North Omaha, investment and sustainability. But when given the real opportunity to act, not just talk, the city chose to spend $210,000 more than what his bid was. At the April 8th meeting on a different contract, council member Amy Milton spoke at length about another company's disqualification due to failure to meet the 5% bond requirement, which I remember when that happened, and I still say at that time, there was nothing. This city council has, and I will be pleasantly surprised if there's any change. There is always in some back room that individuals they want will get the contracts from the city. He has gone through all legal process, but the city council prior by a 6-0. And you know who that one person who did stand for that the clerical error could have been and should have been accepted is no longer on the board, on the city council. And we will see where city councilwoman LaVanya Goodwin votes on this case. And council member Amy Milton, who spent a lot of time on it prior, like at the April 8th and the prior, and then there was another one after that. Why this couldn't be, we already know where she's gonna vote. But as he said, it was a perfect example. If you really wanted to walk and not just talk, this could have been. But instead, they're going to vote and to give this to the other contractor for cleaning services. Nothing about transparency, nothing. That means nothing. And I don't see it changing tomorrow. This is the bid for the Omaha Public Libraries. And I believe that this is as I said, it was a minor clerical correction. And if you really truly wanted to see more to make, as our new mayor says, intentional economic for North Omaha. Intentional. This would be one that should be approved. Instead, I will be interested, like I said, to hear what arguments come, and also public hearing. This is one that you can still write, call, you can, because the public hearing is tomorrow. However, like I say, when it comes down to the vote, next week, or not next week because they don't meet, but the following week on August 12th, they will approve this. And I think there should be public outroar. All right, non-action items. These are items, because as it said, the city council will not meet on September 2nd, but according to the rules, you have to have the first reading, and then you have the second reading, and the third reading is the public hearing and the vote on these. So tomorrow will be the second reading. They'll go through da-da-da-da. And those items will come up for the vote on the September 9th. So those will go through. There's nothing. But here, oh, there is this tax increment one. But we all know this is the one, and we will have more discussion on this one. So I'm not going to go into a lot of it right now because we'll have more before it comes up, since they won't meet next week. Item 61, 62, our tax increment financing, and that's already like a done deal. This is just a process to vote on them. So I'm not wasting any time talking about that. But not even the vehicle impound lot, that has been going on for years, and there's not going to be any change to that one. An ordinance to accept the bid from Priority One Courier and Delivery to provide janitorial services in accordance with the lowest best bid. We know what that's about, so that's done. That'll be the first reading is the 26th. Second reading will be September 9th. We'll be going through a little bit more on that. But here is the item that is creating a lot of attention. And this will have the first reading tomorrow. Now, on the first reading, the public hearing will not be till September 9th, but it will just be read through as upcoming. This is the homelessness. This ordinance is requested by City Council Vice President. And let me make sure I put this point in. This is City Council Vice President Brinker Harding, who is running for what? Congress. Yes, Congress. He wants to run to replace Bacon. So, the ordinance prohibits unauthorized encampments on public property. This prohibits will help alleviate public health and safety concerns caused to the general public, city employees, and first responders. Public property, which includes property controlled, maintained, or owned by the City of Omaha and other governmental entities within the city. The ordinance makes it unlawful for any person to encamp, occupy, or maintain an encampment on public property. Any individual affected will be given the opportunity to be transported to a shelter prior to being cited or arrested. Any person found guilty of violating the ordinance will be punished by a fine not to exceed $300 or imprisonment not to exceed 30 days in 30 days in jail, or both. The ordinance also establishes a process for removal of the personal property found at that encampment, which protects the property interest of the affected individual. Now, let's use some common sense, folks. And I'm doing a whole special on this one next Thursday. If you're homeless, you probably don't have that job, but you could pay a $300 fine. Because if you're homeless, 9 times out of 10, most of those don't go to a shelter for various reasons. And in the program next Thursday, we're going to break down each one of those. Now, this item, you can't have public hearing on it tomorrow, but you can contact city council representatives, by phone or by email, by letter, however you want, and you should. And I'm not saying you should do just one. You need to all 7, because if this is true, you want to take and criminalize homelessness. Shelters, we already know we don't have enough home or shelters for people, but we want to criminalize them. We want to take all of their belongings and toss them because they don't mean anything to us. And and I'm not going to get into what anybody's faith is or their belief, but all these different religions that say you're supposed to take care of the poor, the homeless, the hungry. You feed them, you clothe them. So next Thursday's program, we're going to break it all down. But even to bring this forth, now I asked for an interview to ask Council Vice President Brinker Harding some questions, and he chose not to. He said that he has had discussions with the mayor and others, and he did do an interview, though, for WOW TV. He did do their interview, and he gave his reasons. But I want you to think about this, people, and you got time to think about this. What are we doing? Have we come to the society to be this? I don't like seeing it. I don't like, because most of it's all in North Omaha. Not all of it, but most of it. I don't like it seeing in my community. But there's got to be another answer. What are we doing, people? Have we become so normalized to mistreating those who cannot do better? Those who maybe for whatever reason, and I've talked to some people who said they were homeless for a period of time. They lived out of their car. They lived out of their automobile or truck. They lived underneath a bridge till they could get better. What have we become? So that's my end of this review. And this is and like I say, next Thursday, we're going to break all this down and go through it. But in the meantime, you need to be thinking about this. And there's been several people who have written emails, and those will all be attached to this at the next city council meeting. And we'll go through that. But we need to be addressing this issue now. What are we going to do? Hopefully, there will be some conversations and interesting tomorrow's meeting. That's really all I can say about it. So I want to thank everyone for going through the review with me. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. And if we don't, have a wonderful evening. We will be back with conversations with Cheryl Weston in the review of the City Council. And we'll be on Facebook and YouTube. Again, we'll see you next week. And remember, we will see you next Thursday with a special regarding item number 66.